the next question here from Karim Ford. I am a classical and jazz trained vocalist. What would you say is the major difference between jazz and contemporary pop expression? Is there a difference?
Yeah, so if we're thinking about color, let's just look at the guitar. When you're playing guitar well, there's not too much guitar in pop these days, but back in the day, the guitar would tend to be rather bright and it'd really have a lot of high end. But when you go to play electric guitar in a jazz setting, the first thing they do is they take that treble and almost turn it completely off. All right. I mean, yeah, they'll tend to use different style guitars, but let's say they're just using a Les Paul, right, for the pop, and now they're using a Les Paul for jazz. They're going to turn down the treble. You're in jazz, depending on whether it's more of a trio situation as opposed to like a big band where you've got to cut. But in most jazz, it's going to be a slightly darker, less intense type of tone. Obviously, style is very different. You're going to be much looser, not looser. You're going to have more play in terms of like phrasing and timing. The groove of jazz is more fluid, and you've got the drums and the bass usually holding it down. And so great jazz singers, I mean, you just listen to Sinatra and the way that he will just hesitate and then push and pull. You almost can't anticipate where he's going to put the note. So there's a depth of style in jazz that you're not going to learn in a weekend. That's for sure, and a lot of listening. But in terms of just very, very different, it's a less bright sound, if I can just take the most obvious. And I'll allow you to expand on
Yeah,
other.
no, I think I'm understanding him to say that's what he knows, and how can he improve his contemporary pop sound? What's the
Oh,
difference going from
Oh,
that
going into
to the
contemporary
next
pop
one?
sound. So what you're going to do is you're probably going to get a slightly brighter sound. Your vowels may be a little more open. Your larynx may sit a little higher. I'm not exactly sure how you sing. You're not going to have as much play with the phrasing, like I said, and it's going to be even in terms of enunciation. In pop, jazz is you're going to enunciate a little more cleanly. You're really going to give full weight to the words and enunciate them all the way through. If you're going for more contemporary, it's usually a little more energy at the beginning of the word. You get a little lazier at the back end. It's a little more like you're spitting out the word a little more, and it's really it's a lot more rhythmic in terms of really locking into the groove and just being in that groove, as opposed to being able to be more fluid with the time as well. So if you're finding that your pop singing is not sounding authentic, watch it that you're not over enunciating, and watch that your tone is maybe not a little too refined. It can be a little brighter, a little more aggressive, even a little breathier, and you may use more varied sounds.
Yeah, it's a great question, and those are some. I'm laughing at myself because for some reason it must be getting up and lack of sleep. I keep stuttering today. I'm really not a stutterer. I'm like, what's going on? Uh, but for me, yeah, it's pop. If for a jazz musician, it feels more straight. Now, if you've had straight more, it will feel just more less creative. But if you're a classically trained singer as well, Karim, then you've had to learn to be really specific with your phrasing and your rhythm. So pop lives in that is also actually very specific with the timing. You have artistic freedom, but you've got to be, jazz is going to be a little bit behind the beat. Pop's going to be right on the beat almost always. And there's an amazing amount of legato with good pop singers. If you listen to the top pop singers, they have wonderful legato, and they're going through a lot of words and consonants. And I think also they cap their volume level. You rarely have a singer that has a forte a real professional level forte. If they do, they're not going to use it in their contemporary singing, in their contemporary pop singing. Very rare. My favorite example is if you listen to all the Disney princesses. I have to because my daughter's 5. And we have to put on Disney princess songs on Apple Music. But you listen, most of them in the modern area all have a similar sound, except one. I got it. Just to be fair to her, I should look it up. But maybe somebody knows this. Pocahontas. Okay, if you listen, that woman can sing. She is amazing. Judy Kuhn, that's her name. That woman has a professional forte, and she is a fantastic singer. If I'm just looking at all the Disney princesses, I'm like, Judy Kuhn, she's nailing it. She has complete vocal control. She's using dark colors. She's using her volume levels. Fantastic singing, in my opinion. And you won't find that with Idina Menzel. She's very specific in her sound design. Now, both can give you a world-class career, right? But just comparing both, Judy Kuhn in that Pocahontas, that is not your typical pop singer. It's really kind of rare that Disney would actually choose her. But I'm happy they did because it's beautiful music and she sings it so well. But your typical pop commercial sound is different than that. It's more in a 4 to 6, volume level in a 0 to 10, 10 being the loudest.